The Australian Cricket Board is most famously known for hosting the BBL. The T20 tournament is famous for having the world's best players playing in it, but this year things might be a little different, as 15 of Australia's top players are said to be leaving the BBL to play in the UAE Cricket League. In this video, we'll look at who these players are, why they're leaving, and much more. So let's get into it. First up, let's look at who's leading the exodus and the players involved. This Australian exodus is led by David Warner, who you might recognize from his signature mustache, air fist celebration, or just the way he smashes the ball to every corner of the stadium. He and 14 other players are set to play in the first season of the UAE Cricket League, or ILT20, which will take place this January. The veteran Warner has played over 90 T20 matches and was a key player in the 2020 World Cup winning squad. He's the main player that the board is targeting and is rumored to get a $500,000 bribe to join the UAE League. Other star players that are also part of this exodus include Glenn Maxwell, who also captains one of the Big Bash teams, and his fellow teammate Marcus Stoinis. Given their status, it's likely these players will receive similar big checks to join the foreign league. You might be wondering why they don't just play both leagues. Players do this all the time as they participate in many leagues across the world, such as the IPL and PSL, and this would have normally been the easy solution. But in this case, the two schedules are clashing with one another. The Big Bash League will start in December and end in February, and similarly, the ILT20 starts in January and will also end in February, which makes it impossible for the players to be at different places at the same time. It could be done if they had Hermione's time tunnel, but we doubt they'll have that. Next, let's find out why they would want to join the ILT20. What motivates us to get up in today's world? For some, the answer is to chase their dreams or maybe to support their family, but sadly, the most common answer is money. We're no stranger to the influence of Arab money in our sports. How else could have Manchester City and PSG reached the top? Guys, relax. This was a joke. This influence, however, has also reached the sport of cricket, as the UAE League is reportedly offering players a contract up to $700,000. When compared to the money the players would have received in the Big Bash League, their decision seems like a no-brainer. The foreign league will also be attracting other international star cricketers and thus giving players to learn from each other, understand the game better, and hopefully find weaknesses that they'll be able to use in the international matches. Big Bash, on the other hand, isn't the same as it once was because they're now focusing on their young talent rather than having some big shot from abroad to win their matches. So these reasons combined were apparently enough for the Australians to abandon their home league and lead an exodus. Moving on, why is this a problem for Cricket Australia? The main problem that the Australian Cricket Board has is that they don't want the players to leave because, well, they're crowd favorites and can really pull in the numbers. And if the IL20 is as grand as the media claims, then barely anyone will tune in to watch the BBL. Like, who would you prefer to see? Cricket's greatest stars playing against each other? Or a league mostly left with amateur players trying to make it into the Aussie side? The Australian Cricket Board's situation was further worsened by a betrayal from their official broadcasters. In June, the board expressed they were extremely disappointed with the Australian Sports Channel 7's decision to commence legal proceedings for their broadcasting deal with, you guessed it, the ILT20 League. So now, not only was the UAE League stealing BBL's players, but airtime as well. One more reason, and this might as well become Cricket Australia's villain origin story. Now let's look at how the CA is stopping them. Unlike the Indian Cricket Board, Cricket Australia has no legal power that can stop these players from playing in international leagues or restrict them by prioritizing their own. The only commitment that the players had was their ODI series with South Africa, which was supposed to take place in January, but has now been canceled, leaving the players free to participate. Now, there was only one way left for the helpless board, outbidding the highest bidder, and as we saw from the title of this video, the board has placed a bid of $500,000 in the hopes of getting back their lost players. It really isn't a good time to be a member of Cricket Australia, so if you had any plan of applying, we'd suggest you reconsider. This plan, however, hasn't been seen to work, as later in the video we'll look at how another Aussie star, Chris Lynn, refused the board's offer and accepted the big check to play in the UAE. He probably made the decision out of spite because the board wasn't giving him any chance in the international side. Revenge is sweet and apparently worth $700,000. As for David Warner, well, maybe Cricket Australia get to hear some good news after all. After ongoing talks between the player and the board, it seems like David Warner might be playing in this year's BBL, and that too for the first time since 2013. Looks like things might be changing for the falling board. Moving on, what's the reaction to the contract? The reaction to the positive news, however, isn't positive. A legend of Australian cricket, Adam Gilchrist, who was perhaps the greatest wicket-keeping batsman, said that Warner's massive pay hike might create a headache for CA. Wait, wasn't this contract supposed to get rid of Cricket Australia's headache? The legend's reasoning behind his remarks is that now other players will also start demanding expensive contracts as well. Those who were left out might feel ignored by the board. And well, you know what will follow: strikes, resignations, pay raises, etc. This deal might be good in the short term, but it most definitely has long-term consequences. Though Gilchrist did say he was happy with Warner returning, he just doesn't feel that it's fair that only Warner gets the contract. Seems like he still has the captain instinct of looking out for the other players. Other news. First up, Lynn's move to ILT 20 might get blocked. We saw earlier on in the video that Chris Lynn is all set to join the first season of the UAE League. Or is he? Lynn was once the captain of the BBL team Brisbane Heat, and after getting released from his contract, he joined the ILT 20. However, since then, another BBL team, the Adelaide Strikers, has shown interest in signing Lynn. They're late, right? Lynn has already signed a contract. Well, Lynn needs a no-objection certificate from Cricket Australia so that he can participate in the ILT 20, something he hasn't yet applied for. Cricket Australia also revealed that if a player hadn't already applied for a NOC, they would prioritize the needs of Australian cricket. This basically means that if the Adelaide Strikers want to sign Lynn, he'll be forced to sign too because the board won't give him an NOC as he hasn't yet applied. Why they didn't think of this when signing Warner? Maybe they wanted to show the world that they could pay high wages too. Who knows? Moving on, Australian cricketers donate prize money to children in Sri Lanka. On a lighter note, Cricket Australia revealed that the men's cricket team would be donating $30,000 from their prize money to help the families in Sri Lanka who are probably facing the worst economic crisis in their life. During their mid-year tour to Sri Lanka, the Australian team got a chance to see the consequences of this crisis in the form of power loss, fuel shortage, and just the terrible state that the country is in. The captain, Pat Cummins, expressed his concern on the matter, and thus, after winning the series, decided to donate the prize money to the UN Children's Aid Agency. Hearing about news like this really restores our faith in humanity, and the world could do with more of this right now. Lastly, Brett Lee reveals what it was like bowling to India's greatest. Brett Lee is arguably one of the greatest bowlers to hail from Australia, and Sachin Tendulkar, on the other hand, is arguably the greatest batter there ever was. In a recent interview, Lee revealed what it was like bowling to the Indian great. Lee has dismissed Tendulkar 14 times in international cricket. That's the highest by any bowler. But still, Lee places Sachin in high regard, saying he was the best batter he ever faced. The battle between these greats was one for the ages, and it's unlikely that we'll ever see such players again, but we can always hope. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think that the Aussie players should play in the BBL or take the better money offer in UAE? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.